Hey everyone, this is Jack Bourne, founder of Deadline Funnel. Listen, to have a business that consistently brings in sales day after day, week after week, and so on, you're going to have to know what's working and what isn't. Now, I know that might seem pretty obvious, but a lot of marketers, in fact, shy away from the math because it feels overwhelming. So my next guest is going to help you make sense of the math that you need without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling like you have to suddenly become a data scientist overnight. So for 2 years, Steve J. Larsen was the lead funnel builder at ClickFunnels for Russell Brunson, making a name for himself in the internet marketing world. Eventually, Steve left to start his own business, crossing $11 million in 4 years. His two popular podcast shows, Sales Funnel Radio and Launch for Profit, teach the finer points of internet marketing, online cash flow strategies, and organic lead gen. Steve is passionate about improving the economic and spiritual well-being of entrepreneurs through capitalism. Great to have you here, Steve.
I got to thank my copywriters for that intro. That makes me sound real cool. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're on the same page. I mean, improving people's lives through capitalism. I like to think of it as capitalism done right, not crony capitalism, but the type where, you're putting your message out into the world and building a business that really feeds your lifestyle, your income goals, the things that you want to do, and it's something that we can all enjoy showing up to and working on. That's what it's all about. So I'm really, really excited to have you here because I think that there's some secret internet entrepreneur shame around, not actually being the data scientist. Probably about 10% or 30% of the marketers out there lean towards, diving into the spreadsheets and they just love geeking out on that stuff. But for the rest of us, we want to know the numbers. We want to know what we're doing. We want to be driving down the highway, at least being able to look at how fast are we going and having some feedback on this vehicle we're driving. But we have guilt because we don't want to log into Google Analytics every single day and become, a data scientist. So I hope you're here to help us out because you're going to be solving a lot of problems for a lot of people.
I'm really excited. I'm not a data scientist kind of person. I like spreadsheets and such, but I don't really use that kind of stuff. It's funny, when I got a college degree, quantitative marketing research, that's one of the classes. And no one here, I'm not going to tell anyone to make a Z-score. There's going to be no stats. There's like actual statistics, Right. This is though, from the lens though, what I tend to look at from like the hat of a CEO, right? And what numbers actually matter there? And I'm not saying to not do ads or anything like that. I would certainly look at those numbers, but I'm not really an ads guy. These are the numbers that I look at outside of all the standard ones that kind of people stereotypically think of.
Great. Well, let's dive in. I think that you've prepared some slides. So if you're ready, let's share the screen and take it away.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to nerd out, everyone. I prepared a lot actually for this. I'm excited. So I'm eager to go through this with you guys because this for me was like that key skill set that I didn't realize was keeping me back. I just didn't know. If you don't know, just real quick, just like 2 slides about me. I tried a lot of business types, just growing up. I didn't know that it was called entrepreneurship for a long time. I had no idea. Anyway, I went through 34 product tries over 5 years. Same people get jobs by that point, right? And I just did a lot of products, and stocks and options, right? With the New York Stock Exchange, real estate, 2 terms of door-to-door sales as a telemarketer, did ebooks, websites. My first real toe dip into internet marketing came when I was driving traffic for Paul Mitchell, plus 27 other tries. It's so many others. And that was just what I could try to remember. And so I just have been obsessed with this idea of launching and sales and marketing for just a really, really long time. And it was very embarrassing for me. I'm just going to be vulnerable here and let you know, I did not have a very successful personal sales funnel when I worked for Russell Brunson at ClickFunnels for the first 6 months. I can't tell you how embarrassing it was for me to be lead funnel builder at ClickFunnels, right? And not have this successful thing. And I mean, anyone watching this right now, what would you do if you were that guy's funnel guy? This is how every day would happen, right? Which meant I have $1 million idea and he's going to poop out $1 million in 3 weeks. We all run over to a whiteboard. He starts writing down all the ideas and he's like, Steve, go build this. You remember that one page from this over here? Remember upsell number 2 in that 3rd section? I'd be like, hey, yeah, all right, hey, take that one, put it right here. Hey, remember, like, and that's just how we spoke. And so what would everyone on this call do if you're in the situation? What would you do in the evenings? You would build the same. So I did. Why weren't they working? This is like a really powerful lesson. And this was a challenging thing for me to learn. I thought funnels were marketing, and they are not. And so it's when I started learning how to disassociate the role of funnels as it pertains to marketing and learn them, but learn them individually, that it really actually started solving for this, in my opinion. So I solved the leads problem. And this is really the issue that I thought funnels solved this problem, and it doesn't. And in my real opinion, the trouble that people have when it comes to evergreening a funnel comes from this problem. Not can it work? We all know that. Not how do I do it? Use deadline funnel, bam, solved, right? It's not from a tactical standpoint. It's just the actual theory of understanding what's happening. That's where the breakdown is. So I'm really excited to walk through this, because once I solved this, it worked. And right as I left my job, I started realizing, oh my gosh, there's this whole discipline, and I got to learn it at this guy's feet. This was a huge realization for me. Just to simply, while I was building funnels, look left and see the Russell, the side of Russell's face, and be like, what is he doing? Because what he was doing is what made the money. And I thought it was what I was doing. So I hope it's okay for me to start it like that.
No, that's perfect. I mean, there's so many gems of wisdom. I know we haven't even gotten into the content, but just something that we're you and I are both about trying to help people go from where they are to the business that they want to have. One of the things I wanted to point out, which I know is not the point of this, but is that, you remind me of, like, your beginning kind of reminds me of mine. I didn't have that many tries, but I definitely had the attitude of, like, I'm going to die frustrated. I'll die that frustrated entrepreneur who tried and tried and tried and tried and tried, rather than just go, golly, it didn't work the first time, so I'm going to give up. And it takes that persistent attitude of, it doesn't matter how many times you beat me down, I'm going to get up one more time, and I'm going to do it again and again. And I'm going to find a way. I'm going to go over, under, around, or through. I'm just going to make it happen. And that's really, attitude wise, for most people, that's the difference between building the business that you want to have versus not, is just that persistence, getting up one more time, trying one more thing.
It's so true. And what's funny, I forever made fun of mentality as being like a cornerstone piece of entrepreneurship. And I was like, no, it's woo-woo. And then the world proceeded to backhand me with a lot of life lessons. And I was like, oh, it's all mentality. It's like just the willingness to get back up. It's crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And learning the skill set wise, this whole angle of like lead invitation, since this number, like, yeah, we made money, it was awesome. I actually, since I've re-burnt everything to the ground, I only left 5 products of the, because I went through 34 tries, and then I made 55 successes. So it's 34 failures, and then it's 55 successes in a row. And it was because of understanding this, that they were all successful. And even since then, re-burnt 50 of the 55 down. I only have 5 left. And it's because of understanding this piece. It's so big. Making a cool offer isn't the hard part. Making a funnel isn't the challenging piece. It's these pieces here. So anyway, hopefully I've pre-framed enough. Everyone on the edge of this seat?
Yeah. I'm excited to get into this.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. Now this might sound a little bit to the side, but I promise it's not. My first funnel was actually a bit of an accident. I didn't know what funnels were. This was my first funnel, and it was actually on YouTube. And the reason I bring this up is to help everyone on the call, when you guys see this, like, break what you think a funnel is. Because we think of a funnel as a series of pages on the internet, and that is a method of a funnel, but it's not actually a funnel. My first funnel was not on ClickFunnels, wasn't on any other funnel builder that I was learning on at the time. It was actually on YouTube. And what happened is I was selling this product, and I'll just tell you, it was a network marketing product. And I also had an info product as well. And I had these things out on the internet, and I created this series just the 5 YouTube videos, and I kind of just dripped them out. And it was the first time I didn't have like a sales page. I really didn't have much stuff up there. It was the first time I ever woke up with leads asking to buy from me. Blew my mind. The stereotypical, internet marketer wakes up and seeks leads, right? And the direction of their attention and their energy and effort is things away from them. They get up and they go to seek leads. This whole game gets solved when you can just switch the direction of the arrows. When you wake up and leads have sought you, that was it. And this is, for me, I think the real thing that everyone's trying to solve when it comes to Evergreen is, how can I get the direction of the leads to seek me out each day? And so this is actually it. My first funnel, those were the videos. You can see I needed, ooh, baby Steve, need some hair on your face. But basically these 5 videos, these are them, and they're still up. And it's interesting. And all I did is, in the actual description, it said, hey, go to this blah, 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 and if you want more. And it worked. And this is still a funnel. And this is one of the reasons I think it's hard for people to build one. They don't think what a funnel actually even is at like the principal level. All a funnel is a message and an offer. That's it. And the fact that we put them on a series of pages, that's just a method of a funnel, right? So I put this YouTube video up, or these series up, and I started getting all these leads coming in, and it didn't stop. I remember I was getting like 2 people per month asking to come, buy from me. And then as soon as I put this up, it was like 1 to 2 a week. And then it started going to 1 to 2 a day. And it stayed at 1 to 2 per day for like 2 years. And obviously at that point I got more sophisticated and such, but it all started with realizing, oh my gosh, I have lead flow by accident, this consistent daily lead flow. And for everyone who's watching, please keep that as a metric in mind. Ask yourself, what is my daily average lead flow? Not Optin's leads. This is different, right? What are my actual leads? And this is a really cool problem that I started running into. And I started realizing that I had more people to sell than there was time in the day. And that's a great problem to have. And it came down to a lot of the principles I'm walking through right here with this. So people always ask, is this going to work for me, Stephen? Yes, it drives me absolutely psycho. Because my question is, will you work for it? Absolutely. And I've had tens of thousands of people I've coached now. It's just, I always get a little bit huffy when, so will this work for me? Like, you are the one person out of the thousands that's not going to work for us. Like, come on. What do you want? How bad do you want it? Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so I want everyone to think through real quick. What is the biggest hurdle in Evergreen lead gen? Right, it's all about leads. It's controlling lead flow. All right, as long as the marketplace is buying what you've got, it's the right product. Right. I touted around as the offer guy for quite a while. The only problem with that was 80% of the offers I looked at were good enough to make money. That's not why people weren't making it. It was leads, lead flow. It's a different question. And so you think about like, all right, well, what can we guess are the greatest issues? And from me I built so many funnels in my life. Like, what is that thing in the whole funnel game? And it comes down to leads and the ability just to get leads. That's it. So I want you to think about this. And I kind of opened this up earlier as well, but just so you're watching this, keep taking notes on this. People don't have trouble with the technicalities of evergreening a funnel or a product, right? We know how to do it. You use deadline funnel, use the tools that are out there. You make your stuff, right? We conceptually all understand why or how they all work. So then the question still pops up, why do people still struggle? And it's my firm argument that they mistake the role of the funnel. Okay. And so I'm not trying to get like super deep on this part, but this is just how I think of funnels, especially with where I've come from with this on this. So think about this real quick. Have you ever wondered why we don't call them marketing funnels? It's called a sales funnel for a reason. We don't call them marketing funnels. And the reason I bring this up is because this is usually where people are shooting themselves in their foot. They think that marketing is sales. They are not. They are different, right? Marketing is not sales. And what we're doing is the issue is that people build a sales funnel and they treat it like a marketing funnel, but that's not what it was intended for in the first place. So let's go back to the root sale. What does it mean to sell? The main activity in sales is closing. So think of it in another frame, like my sales funnel, call it a closing funnel, my closing funnel, my cash collection funnel. Think of it like that. It's the point of sale, not the point of marketing. The point of marketing is actually pre-page one. And so we have marketing. The main activity in marketing is getting attention, right? It's lead invitation. All we're doing is we're kicking up leads and getting attention and inviting people to come to us so that over in the actual funnel, that's where the actual cash gets collected. I often think of it like a catcher's mitt, right? But something still has to throw the ball or there's no game, right? And so there's money out in the audience. Then you've got invitation happening to the funnel. And this is how marketing and sales works together. Marketing is actually what makes the money. Sales just collects it. And what we need to think about is the funnel extending beyond. It does not start page one. It starts before page one. It starts out in the ether and what you're doing out in the marketplace to get you attention. And that's really the beginning of the funnel. That's top of funnel. And so I find that this is the biggest issue is that people try to, think of those as timelines on the bottom. They try to squish the entire timeline of marketing, right, and sales into the headline on the first interaction, first engagement, first thing ever. And it's like, it's really tough. And failure gets really, really likely because you're squishing all product education, rebuilding beliefs, creating a relationship, and asking for money the first time they ever come. And it's to the page. It's just super unrealistic. It's a sales funnel, not a marketing funnel. And the marketing needs to be. So you think of this as it pertains to evergreening. It's like what you're doing in the marketplace is what keeps your thing alive while you're evergreened. Right? You're not done just because it's evergreen. You got to be out there doing a lot of more marketing, right? You just got a great closing system now. You got a great catcher's mitt now that's out there. It's very effective, and you've trained it to catch without you. But that doesn't mean that you get to give up the marketing seat. And that's like one of my major key points with this.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're good. I'm fire hosing a little bit.
No. This is great. And I know that it's already shifting some minds. So this is fantastic. And I'm right there with you. So looking forward to what comes next.
Oh, cool. I don't want anyone to ever think I'm saying don't build a funnel. It's just that funnels aren't marketing, right? And the longer I've been doing this, the more I've realized that it's just a skill set like website building, but none of us would think website building is marketing. It's just a tactical application of how to put your offer and your message out. But yeah, it's about that marketing piece in the front. So with like, all right, as a CMO or a CEO, I'm waking up each day and I'm saying, how can I go create more leads today? And I used to wake up each morning and I would ask something similar to this, if not that exactly. I'm like, how can I get more leads? How can I give myself a raise? How do we go and it took me a while to recognize that the answer to this problem actually came from changing the question. How will I go create leads? The issue is the word create, right? To create a lead implies that we have any kind of control over someone else's actions, and we really don't. And so what we really need to think about this is lead invitation. It's not lead creation, you're inviting leads. And this is why an opt-in is not necessarily a lead, right? And so stick with me. We'll go. There's a really cool story I want to share here, actually, but stick with me, everyone, as you watch this. Get rid of the concept of lead creation and think of lead invitation. How am I going to invite more people to come to my evergreen, digital asset, my funnel, every day? How can I invite more people? That's the question to ask, because you can't really create leads, but you can invite them. And the way we invite is through setting. Now, I love this story. Telemarketing was actually invented by a group of housewives in the early 1900s who wanted to make some more money on the side. And so they started selling their own bakery goods, cookies specifically. They sold cookies. Cookies actually is how telemarketing was born. And what they were doing was they started practicing conversation scripts that would result in higher percentage of closing. And after a while, companies started noticing this because these women started making tons of money. So they're making all this money, and they had women that were just on the phones, women just baking, and this is a whole operation. companies noticed this, and it was born. So it's the first telephone there on the left, and then over on the right, that's about 1940s. It's a picture of like one of those. It's basically like a phone sweatshop, right? This is Wolf of Wall Street going on right here.
Room.
Yeah, this is a boiler right here, right? And so what's interesting is the setter-closer relationship really started coming even harder. One person would get on the phone and set, while the other person would get on and close. And so this model really came about, or at least was very expressed by this. And so the thing I want to pose to everyone on here is, don't lose that. Just because the internet's here doesn't mean we should forget this. The simplest answer to everything I'm saying right here actually comes from this. Pretend like the internet, it doesn't exist, right? And we get down to the core of what marketing actually is. I contend that there's no such thing as internet marketing. There's just marketing, and we do it on the internet, right? And what actually is marketing? We're inviting people to become leads, setting, right? And so this setter-closer relationship enters, and we still do that today. We still do that in terms of our actual funnels and the way that we use these funnels, where anything pre-page one is the setter, and as soon as they've hit page one, it's now the closer. Now it makes the job, the closers close easier. That's a mouthful. Closers close easier when there's a better setter, because it controls this pre-frame piece, right? So it's a cool example of this. Let's keep going here. So what I want to do is I wanted to share with you guys just a few ways to increase the quality of your Evergreen funnels setter. What can you put to set your funnel so that the closer or your funnel has an easier time closing and the leads are better? Funny enough, when a funnel doesn't work, so I have to run the One Funnel Away Challenge for a while. Right? As like the first coach, the 2 Comical Coaching program, I have worked through thousands of people's funnels, and the pattern is always the same. Someone goes and they launch a funnel, and it works a little bit, but mostly doesn't. They freak out, they emotionally get over it, and then they're like, let's get back to it. They skip past the setting role and they go straight to the funnel and they start tweaking the funnel. That's the wrong order. Funny enough, the easiest way to increase your close rate and make more money is to improve your setter. And it makes the closer really easy. I'm sure people on here know Alex Hormozy. He and I become pretty good friends recently. We've taken several little couples trips together with them now. And I was asking him about like, hey, like, how'd you do it? It's like over 100 million in like 5 years or something crazy. And he goes, it's so funny, man. Like, I think I can share this. He goes, it's so funny. He's like, I've had the same like crappy 2-page funnel this entire time. And he said, and then he spoke to the fact that it's everything happening before they get to it. It's just a fascinating pattern that I've noticed more and more the longer I've been in it, is fixing the setter is the easiest lever it's the most bang for your buck, right? You get the most juice for the squeeze there.
Can I just chime in with just so my 2 cents on that is that anyone who's done any sort of, person-to-person sales, whether it's on the phone or Zoom or DMs, whatever, when someone comes referred from a happy client, so it's word of mouth, right? I mean, it's the type of setter, using your terminology, it's the type of setter that money really can't buy. I mean, we just wish that we could scale it the hell up, because it's, it's really just kind of the attitude on the person who's on that call is really like, I know everything, just take my money. Or I just have this one last question, but it's, can I pay you in 3 installments instead of at once? Like, it's like the simplest, easiest layup sales, because all the selling has been done. Like, if you say anything else other than, yes, here's like, let's take your order, then you're actually selling past the sale, because they're pre-sold. Like, they're already convinced that your solution is going to change their life based on what that happy client has told them. And so, you don't need this fancy funnel. It's just, okay, here's where you pop in your credit card.
100%. And if you have a fancy funnel, more power to you. You get those incremental bumps in conversion for sure, fortunes in the follow-up, all those things. But totally, it's like, if you can't even control what's happening before that, it's such a harder sale. The closer has a harder role closing. And that, in my opinion, is when a lot more high pressure sales tactics start to sweep on in, because the marketer's like, I got to get these sales, so then they start doing more like fake scarcity, urgency crap and all the things that bane this, industry, like, because they don't know what to resort to. They have to close hard. There hasn't been any setting or marketing or as much, so anyway, that's cool. It's cool. To kind of illustrate this, actually, this is called Kelly's experiment. This is such a great experiment. I'll just kind of say really quick what happened. In 1988, there was, I think this is at Harvard, a bunch of students got some background info for a visiting professor for that day. It's kind of a famous story. I bet most of you have heard this here. But what they did is they went to these students, and this professor was out for the day. And they gave the students a little biography of the professor that was going to be their sub for that day, basically. And there was the exact same stuff handed out to them, except for one word. There's two versions handed out, exactly identical, except for one word. And one, it said, hey, if people have found this person to be a very warm person. And the other one pre-framed by saying, hey, this person is found to be a very cold person. And what's interesting is they rated this professor at the end. Professor came in, hour or two, did his spiel, and at the end, they're like, hey, did you like him? And like, to the number, the person that, the people that said, hey, I got the one that said warm, they said warm. All right, cold, they said cold. The direct correlation. And it has to do with the pre-frame. They both had the same lecture. They both had the same experience. They both had the same, like think how fascinating of a principle this is. We go way down to this pre-frame and we focus on the fact that we need to control the pre-frames, especially with evergreen funnels. Guy asked Russell once, he said, when do you evergreen versus not? And he, without blinking, he was like, as soon as I know that my live metrics can handle being cut in half. He said, my average cart value usually cuts in half. My cost to acquire usually doubles. As a cutting in half of all performance. He said, if the numbers can work then I'll automate. I was like, it's a pretty interesting statement to say like that. But the other way to control that is by making sure you have a really good pre-frame before they come to the funnel. It's how to lube up that funnel, right? Such a great, anyway. So it's basically your web page's lift letter, if you will. Content you put out there. I put YouTube up because I like that it's just evergreen, but those platforms are a little more evergreen in nature. That's where I focus on tossing stuff with podcasts, YouTube, blogs, like the staple platforms that aren't disappearing content based. I like to put stuff up there that is basically a lift letter, meaning lift per conversion rate. If you've never heard that term and you're watching this, lift letter comes from like physical mail, direct mail. It's a letter when you open the package that lifts the response and purpose of the whole package. Well, a lift letter for the whole funnel is like, let me pre-frame your brain before you even get to page one so that you perceive the professor as being a very warm, kind-hearted person instead of a cold person. And it means that you don't have to be an A, B, or C level funnel person. You can be a Z or a 0 and still make A-level money because you had a great setter, right? You don't need to be this pro person to go pull off these funnels when you control the pre-frame that hard. And again, it's pre-framing you, it's endorsing you, giving you authority, it's qualifying the lead. They're clicking, they're coming over saying yes. It's a totally different style of person than from you going up and saying, please come buy from me. Right? They've come in, they've raised their hand. You don't need that many leads to make that kind of money like that. You need one or two good referrals versus thousands of people. That's such a different, better way to do that. YouTube, what I meant to say there, YouTube and all these stable platforms, they really want your stuff to win, especially when they're SEO based because they want to sell ad space. So that's why I like to choose content platforms for evergreen funnels for long term, just because they'll always stick around. So think about this, everyone, is that your evergreen funnel setter is the idea that you place in front of your dream customer, which calls them into action, simultaneously repelling the wrong customer. And I put the Capos pig shirt thing on for this specifically. This is kind of an example of that. I often find that having an evergreen digital funnel, like an evergreen funnel on the internet, requires they do the best when you can find some kind of like front end idea that is not necessarily about the funnel, but sets the funnel. For example, like these, anytime someone goes and gets these shirts, this is like Moses in the Red Sea, lovers, haters. I know exactly who loves me and hates me. It's like, and that's micro closed them already. There's a little micro setting that happens right there. And then they're like, oh, what? They've got this other stuff. And then they go over there. But this is something that we put pre-page one of the funnel as an idea that calls the person into action for the funnels and acts as a setter, and works really well like that. So Steve, you're saying a lot of stuff. How does this all fit inside the actual sales cycle? I know I'm saying a lot, so just kind of take a breath with it. Like, the reality is that you can have the very best evergreen funnel on the planet, right? And that's good. And you should try to be amazing at that. I'm not saying or trying to take away the responsibility there. Like, it should be amazing. Just make sure it's not misplaced in that you're not looking at all at the setting piece, right? Keep your focus on setting and getting good leads, real leads for your actual funnel itself. So here's the 3 steps of this math piece. The first thing that we do is I want some kind of way. There's a really good quote that says, what gets measured gets managed, or what gets managed gets improved, or something like that. Yeah. You want to measure stuff. And so think of it like this. If I'm going to invite somebody to become a lead, what are the steps of that? First, we got to get their attention. Second thing I got to do is generate interest with that attention. And the third thing I have to do is invite them to some call to action. And this is actually how we invite. These are the 3 steps of lead invitation. And there's a little math behind it. So what we're doing out there for these evergreen assets is we're going out, we're creating attention, we're generating a little bit of interest in the thing that we have for them, and we're inviting them to move forward. And just that simple 3-step formula, that creates new lead. And this is where some of that war against, just here's an example. I used to email, like, you could have opted in over here for something on my list. You could have opted in over there for something on my list. You could have, and then anytime anything would come out ever, I would just send it to everybody. But that they're not a lead for the product that I was talking about. They're just opt-in. And that's why I caution people a lot by saying, just because someone opts in does not mean that they're a lead. An opt-in is somebody who's maybe just opted in literally for the freebie that you cookie, it's a little bit of a cookie reward for them. But that doesn't mean a lead is someone who has intent around the product that they already know about. A lead is someone who's raised their hand and says, I'm interested. When I was a door-to-door sales guy, I'm just super animated, so here we go. When I was a door-to-door sales guy, go knock on these doors and I'd be like, hey, what's up? Spraying the Joneses down the street. Getting the truck is half of our cost. So we actually can do it for 50% off while we're here. Is 4 or 5 o'clock okay for you today? That was my opening line. And they would go, what? And I would just repeat it. Hey, we're here. The Joneses spraying down the street. It's getting the truck is here is most of the cost. So while we're here, we're just for 2 houses down. You can see our truck right there. It's 50% off while we're here. Is 4 or 5 o'clock okay for you today? We go straight for the sale. And what would happen was the way we were trained was there was this whole script that we gave. It was very similar to what I just said. And as soon as we got them to ask a single question, we got to unlock and move to the second part of the script. But unless we got them to ask this very key question, we were not allowed to even open up the second part of the script. And the key question was, well, how much is it? As soon as they said, well, how much is it? And so all we would do is the first part of the script is we would get people to try and say, how much is it? And because then it meant we actually get to start moving into actual closing. And that's what we're trying to do as it pertains to evergreen funnels and lead generation. And even just this math piece is I'm trying to measure how many times I'm inviting someone to come to the funnel versus how many of them actually do. And they say, well, how much is it? And they click to go forward on that funnel piece. That right there is such a more healthy way I have found to create funnels and maintain them long term. Because you're just trying to get them to say, well, how much is it? Right. As some examples, like, what's up, 4 or 5 o'clock okay today? And they'd be like, well, how much is it? And I would never answer. I would go, well, it kind of depends. And I always took a step back out of the house to the side, so it wasn't confrontational. And I would just straight up walk away from their front door. So they would follow me. Now I'm in control. And then I would go, how big is your house? How many square foot is this house? And I would open up this little sales sheet, and I'm totally guiding the sale at this point. And they're eating out of my hand. And it's very similar when you get to a funnel. A sales funnel or a closing funnel should be more thought of those pieces and parts rather than what most people think of it as, which is like, you got to have 2 upsells and a downsell and this and this. And those are great tactics and you should use them. Just don't sidestep again. Anyway, I feel like I'm saying the same thing 13 times in a row. I just see the same pattern every time. It's the same issue everyone runs into.
Well, anyway. I think it's important to repeat your philosophy, because it really needs to be said, is that yes, you can optimize the funnel, but what brought them to the top, like the first step in that funnel? Did they, for example, I used to work for Perry Marshall as his marketing manager, and he used to tell me that even though he was doing advertising, he would do podcast interviews and all these sorts of things. They all worked. The thing that worked best, unfortunately, again, it's not super scalable, was if someone went to the bookstore and picked up his book and read his book, and in the book there was a callback to get some sort of freebie. Well, think of all of the authority building and trust building and mind shifts that have happened before someone has even visited the website. And I'm not saying therefore everyone needs to go out and start putting books in the bookstore, but my point is that it could be a referral from a happy client. It could be they binge watched 5 hours of your content on YouTube, and they know you, they like you, they trust you. Or after the first 30 seconds, some people just went, not for me, which is cool. That's the job of marketing, right? That's what you already covered that. But there are going to be some people who binge watch that content. They go, man, like what is the next step? I want what this person has. And they take that next step. A completely different pre-frame. Then, you could put 2 different people at the starting point of that funnel. And even if they both opt in, you're going to have 2 totally very different results, just based on what happened before they opted in. Now, these are my words. I don't want to step on your toes. Is that really what you're saying here?
100%. That's exactly it. And it usually, in just full disclosure, is sometimes has potential to be a little bit discouraging for people once they realize that. They're like, I've got an evergreen funnel out the door. I'm proud as heck about it. I know it works. The offer is amazing. And it's always, there's a client that yelled at me once because they're like, are you telling me I'm not done with this? Like, I got to keep going. I got to go make some more content, or I got to stir. And I was like, well, yeah, the closer needs setting, luckily that's also super evergreenable as long as it's just taken care of as a role, So to that note, actually, to that extent, this is kind of how I think about it. Easy lead machines come from big rivers. Just as a quick story with that, one of the tries I showed in those 34 was stocks and options. I borrowed some money from my dad, and my dad and I together went into Robert Kiyosaki's stocks and options stuff. And we went into stocks and options stuff, and I was a little bit, I don't know, I wasn't focused very much as a person at that point. So after about 6 months, I was like, cool, let me go on to the next thing. He stuck along, and he's a world-renowned coder. He went and he started coding his own signals on all these trading platforms. He started doing all this stuff. It's really interesting. 4 years goes by. I circled back on the topic. He hadn't stopped. He still hasn't. Super great with it now. And I was like, hey, Dad, how's trading going on the New York Stock Exchange? That's what we were trained on. And he goes, you know what? I'm actually no longer trading the NYSE. I said, you're not trading New York Stock Exchange? No way. That's crazy. That's what we're trading on. He goes, I know. I'm actually on Forex, foreign exchange. And I said, well, why are you on Forex? And he goes, think about this. The New York Stock Exchange in 2013 was trading $163 billion per day. It was something like that. $163 billion a day. And I was like, yeah, Dad, that's like a crap ton of money, And he goes, dude, Forex trades at 5 trillion a day. I had no idea it was that much larger. 5 trillion versus like 100 billion. And then he followed up with this certain line that changed how I market. He goes, I didn't need to be as good to take home more. He said, it's such a bigger pie. My skill set does not need to be as high to take home more money. And that blew my mind when he said that. And I remember the first time he said, I was like, holy crap, that's how we should choose rivers or marketplaces. And so it's easier for me to go just by nature of a really big river. Just go find where is all the natural attention, the huge big rivers in the marketplace that I'm selling to? Where are all those attention honeypots? And how can I just step into them rather than stand on the shore and literally try to dig my own river, which is what most marketers try to do. And we stand on a corner and we're like, hey, look over here, give me your attention. We're just shouting our faces off. And we create attention, we create attention, we create attention. But it's so much more effective and viable on your energy and living into your 90s if you learn how to align with attention rather than create it. And this has been a really key piece in the other half of this equation that I'm talking about, where it's like, all right, it's all about setter and closer still in terms of these funnels. And setter needs to fix, and pre-frame the funnel. How can I just like set it and forget it? And it comes back to this principle. I need to get attention, but I want to get attention, interest, and invitation to create a new lead by specifically choosing a gigantic river. And so I like to do it through free evergreen methods. I'm going to use YouTube as an example again. And these are just little hooks, right? If there's already a river, you don't create traffic, you stand in the middle of traffic, right? And so you're going in and you're putting a hook into the existing traffic, and it's a YouTube title, or it's a podcast episode, or it's whatever. And you're trying to put it in the middle of something that there's already noise about, and saying things like, hey, YouTube video or a piece of content or whatever. And then invite them in the wherever to actually move forward, right? To your funnel, to a social media thing, or to a call, like whatever your call to action is. And that's how we're approaching more of this pre-page one. Is I need to have the roles of attention, interest, and invitation taken care of, but I can really affect the effectiveness of that and stack cards in my favor if the river I choose has all the right qualifications on it. And I literally don't need to be as good of a marketer to pull that off. It's really interesting simplification there with it. But this is why someone commenting on Facebook, that's not a lead. Unless they raise their hand and say, I have interest in that product, that's not a lead. They're interested, but there's no invitation that's happened, right? You've got their attention, but there's no invitation. That's why there's always an invite to each thing. And simply subscribing, that's not a list. So when I was a door-to-door guy, the way I did this was actually by running. I would run between doors and run between each door and run. And I'd run between each door. And it's because there's this metric that we had that if you went and you said, so someone's at our door, Marley, go get it. But if you, yeah, right, really good timing. If you have, I was the only controller of how much attention was coming into our funnel, right? Mm-hmm. I had the offer, I was the message, I was the funnel when I was in door to door. And most marketers are still their own funnel, right? And so we have attention. I'm sorry, man. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, no worries.
That was a door-to-door sales guy using my own script. Not even kidding. He was like at 6 or 7 o'clock. Okay. I was like, just come back.
Yeah.
Not right now.
It sounded like a door-to-door salesperson. That was crazy.
He was good. He was persistent. He got around me quick. Anyway. All right. I'm going to restart here. Sorry.
Yeah. Quick story. I've done some door-to-door sales in the past. And so when I was in sales, it was sort of like everything was reversed. Like I was the closer, like, and this is typical sales, like you've got your quota, but no one's doing the marketing. Right. And so,
right. Yeah.
You've got to go, All right. Anyways. So I remember early in my days, it was just me and my wife. Now I've got 2 daughters, and I was maybe 6 months into having a business. I'm working at the kitchen table, doorbell rings, she goes over and I can hear what's going on. But it's behind my back. And it's like, oh, hey, we're here to test your water, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like listening to the pitch. And my wife, Jessica, says, hey, Jack, do we want someone to test our water for free? And I just, without even, getting up or turning my back, I go, do you want to buy a water filter? Because that's what they're selling. And she goes, are you selling a water filter? And the woman's like, yeah. It's like
It's
we
so
could just
funny.
we could just skip past all the testing our water and telling us how we're like dying with every gulp that we take of our water and how the shower's killing us.
Yeah.
Like what? How much does it cost, man?
I was like, hey, just come back later, guy. I'm interested, but I just can't do it right now. I'm on this thing. And he's like, yeah, no, it's fine. Just basic information. When should I come back? I was like, oh, it's like, man, dude, you're good. And I could tell he's got his trainee with him. And I'm like, this guy knows what he's doing. Anyway, there's a guy who knocked on our door a little while ago, and he was, I love being pitched.
Yeah.
It's so fun for me, and he wouldn't, couldn't stop smiling. Because I just love it. And so I started just like, yeah, just like kind of, and after a while he stopped, he totally broke his script and his character. He goes, what is it? And I was like, no, you're just doing a really good job. I would just kind of turn to the side next time. I felt a little oppression that way, like go like, and I totally coached him on the door. Anyway, I'm a goofball. All right, I'll just pick up right here. You can add that in if you want. Anyway, whatever you want. But basically, when I was a door-to-door sales guy, right, I was the funnel. I had an offer, I had a message. I was the controller of attention and interest and invitation. And the metric that we had as door-to-door, which he said that you did as well, right? The metric was, if I can knock 100 people a day, I'm going to get 1 or 2 lay-down sales, right? And the same was true when I was a telemarketer. We wanted to call 100 to 200 people per day. And you always, even the worst salespeople ever still got 1 to 2 lay-down sales each day. And so that's the good news when it comes to these evergreen assets. Like the same principle follows. After a while, it totally is a numbers game. But the situation was I would run down the street and I would try to get 200 every day. And there were certain people that were interested, right? I would talk back and forth. The spouse would say, well, let me talk to my spouse. And I would do my little way to try to get around that. Some would buy, most wouldn't. But I would just a little dog ear all the ones that, hey, I've got a little bit of interest here, right? I'm willing to be a lead, right? And I go back during evening at dinner time when I knew they'd be home and invite them to take action and purchase and start to get through all their objections and either really solidify them as a lead, just kick the ball closer to the sale, or they would actually buy, all right? And they ask the question, how much is it? And at that point, they're in the closing funnel, right? The sale is definitely happening at that point, or at least we're in the middle of it. And so thinking of it in this fashion really upgrades the leads into any evergreen funnel. You just ask these questions about your evergreen funnel. All right, I got deadline funnel, set up and hooked up. How are we getting attention, right? And then how are we getting interest in our product from that attention? And then how are we inviting people to move forward with it? And just those simple 3 things pre-page 1 really helps take care of that role. And so the math that we look at, and this is one of the first things I do when I'm like diagnosing someone's business and their funnel, is the first thing we get to do is figure out where they are. How many daily sales are you getting right now? And so watching this call right now, or watching this, like, just write this down. How many daily sales are you getting now on average? Average out the last 3 months. How many is it per day? And if it's a percentage, right, that's fine. It's less than 1, that's fine. Just what is it? Second part of this question is ask, how many daily leads do you currently get? All right. And unless it's ads, I found that fewer people track this. They track it when they're in ads because there's money, but this is true for anything that you're doing, whether it's organic content or ads, or it doesn't matter, any marketing activity, noise creation activity out there that gets attention. Is how many daily leads? People saying, wait, tell me more about that. How much is it? Right? I literally walked away from a guy that was on our door because he would not stop trying to close me. And I'm on with you right now, right? And he's just coming back around. He's coming back around. He's just coming around my objections. And I told him I'm interested, but it's not right now. So anyway, he's going to come back. So how many daily sales, how many daily leads, and divided together, that obviously equals, my computer's going slow here, but that equals your close rate. And this is something this should be tracked on every single funnel that's out there. Every funnel has a close rate to it. And as much as possible, we're trying to track the close rate per traffic source. So what is it like from YouTube? What is it like from cold calls? What is it like from outbound DMs, right? Obviously ads and all the traditional senses as well. Now I started looking at this and I started realizing the power of formulas is that once we understand it's a formula, you can manipulate them. So then ask the question, what could you do above to double your money? Well, the first thing you could do is just literally increase your price. Right? What I'm gonna walk everyone through it here real quick, guys. You can double your company. I mean, actual sales double like that by just manipulating this formula, right? So, what could you do to double your money? You could literally just increase the price of the product itself, right? Same daily sales rate, same daily lead rate, same close rate. Just increase the price of what you sell. Bam. You can increase the daily lead flow, right? Same close rate, same daily sales rate, and you still, now that would double the company. You could increase the close rate itself and just get better. That's the one I find most people go for. It's honestly, in my opinion, one of the hardest ones because you have to literally get better at a skill set. The easiest one, funny enough, to follow is the daily lead flow, right? Increasing the price, there's always price resistance. Entrepreneur freaks out. Oh, everyone's going to go nuts on me, right? I could increase a little bit, but I still got to justify it. They always go nuts. Increasing the close rate means marketers have to think more like salespeople, which is always hard. So it's like, the easiest metric I have found, this is part of it, is to just pull the lever of daily lead flow. And that's the KPI that you track every funnel, true leads, not just opt-ins, actual interested people. And you realize that you actually need less people to make more money than you might think. So quick example, let's say you're getting 2 sales every day, you're getting 20 leads, right? You got a 10% close rate. Sweet. Like, well, of all of these, I could increase my close rate, but a lot of us are like, oh, I got a 15% close rate versus a 14% close rate. It's very marginally, like, that's a hard thing to increase is your close rate. It's easier just to increase your lead flow, right? Now, each market has their own standard on those numbers and close rates and all that stuff. Each industry is different, but just track it though. Just know what it is. So when people say, it's a trap, evergreen funnels, it's not a trap, right? It's not a trap. It's a real life thing. There we go. It's not a trap. It's just math is all it is. This entire thing, the skill set is math. And so to apply it, simply just always track the daily sales, daily leads, your close rate. The easiest way to double the money is to double your daily lead flow. And you do that really easily by learning how to set by standing in front of big rivers that are already there. And those are the biggest hacks I've probably learned over the last few years.
So many years ago, actually at the very beginning of my entrepreneurial journey, I scraped together some money and went to go see Dan Kennedy in Phoenix, Arizona. And there was a small room of people. This was before Bill Glazer, really took his business to the next level. So it was Dan Kennedy. And I remember it was like day 2. And he said, I could really summarize this entire 3 days that you're spending at, I think he called it his marketing super conference, on the back of a business card. The reason why I don't is because you guys wouldn't pay thousands of dollars to be here. I mean, it's total Dan Kennedy, the way that he's saying it. And he said, what the back of the business card would say is it's all psychology and math. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's psychology.
Oh, that's, wow. Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's obviously more to that. Just handing someone that card isn't going to, like, without the context, unwrapping that and explaining it, but like, you could literally summarize it down to that, because I mean, everything that we do that moves our business forward really comes down to psychology and the math. And, what you're sharing also kind of dovetails pretty nicely with the concept that I, shared with Perry, I came up with, and he wrote about in his 80/20 sales and marketing book, which is the tactical triangle, which is like thinking of the 3 corners of a triangle as conversion, economics, and traffic. And so, you can improve any one of those corners, or 2 of the 3, or 3 out of the 3. What I wanted to ask you is, I think for a lot of people, first of all, I think what you shared is mind bending. And I think a lot of people are going to go back and watch this again. And by the way, if you haven't reserved the ability to, if you haven't upgraded, this is one of those trainings where you're going to want to go back and go, wait a second, what did he? And so that's another reason to upgrade. Shameless plug. But, I'm going to go back and watch this several times. But I hope I didn't forget my question. What I want to ask, I know. So I think a lot of people watching are thinking, okay, I would love to just pull the lever, as you said, and increase my lead flow. How do I do that? And maybe I don't know, that might be, a 4-hour conversation. I don't know. But I mean, I think some people might be asking that question. And so to that person, what would you say?
I am going to walk a little bit more about some of that in the advanced training, but getting these different topics out and increasing the lead flow. I asked my one of my college teachers. He's one of my first one-on-one mentors. He's the CMO of Denny's and Pizza Hut. He invented stuffed crust pizza. He's a cool guy. He helped launch Star Wars Episode 1. He's a really established professional, cool marketer. And I asked him one day, like, how do you come up with your ideas? And he's telling the story about Denny's and how he realized that he should be having, like, always at like 2 a.m. anyone that was at concerts would start showing up at Denny's because the concerts were over. He's like, what if we had the bands they were visiting come and make some food with us, and any of the food that they make, that's what we'll sell at 2 a.m. Exploded. It's super interesting. I was like, why did you come up with that? And he goes, it's really interesting because this is not an answer people are going to want to hear. Because it does require a little bit of free thought with it, but just do it within these principles. He said, what I do is I first go to the ludicrous zone. I got to go to the crazy zone. And when I'm brainstorming and when I'm coming up with an ideas, he really taught me how to think. In fact, he actually started a lesson one day by saying, I'm going to teach you how to think. And it's almost offensive. I was like, I thought I knew how to think. And he said, the issue is a lot of you guys don't know how to think because as the idea comes out of your mouth or your head, you're judging it before it even exits. And he said, but that's actually where the gold is. I want to say the most psycho ludicrous ideas and combine them with the mainstream, and I'm left with prolific. He said, but too many people are judging these ideas coming on out. And so as far as doubling daily lead flow, first off, just tracking it usually does that because most are not tracking it. And so there's no attention there or, pressure, good pressure there, just tracking it. But the second thing though, is think about the formula of get it first. Okay. How can I get attention? How can I get some interest? And then how can I invite? And under those three, you can do a lot of stuff, right? You can do so much stuff. And marketing is not about being better. It's all about being different and new. So come up with the ludicrous, look at what's mainstream, combine it, and you're left with prolific under the context of attention, interest, and invitation. And just as a real world example of this, in fact, right before I got on here with you with this, I was telling my team, Marley and I were putting this thing out. I'm not going to say anything about it, but like I said, hey, we've all heard of the Dream 100, where you're getting all these people to come out and influence you. I said, what about a hater 100? I want a hater 100. If I'm doing capitalism versus socialism, what if I was to send the leaders of the opposing side care packages on capitalism? So we're sending capitalist care packages to the top 100 socialist contributors. And we have a big list of all the politicians that do it. And we're going to send out, is that going to get attention? Oh yeah, I'm really nervous about getting assassinated, right? Right. They're going to go off if any of them mention it. I know it's going to be like throwing gas on a fire. But it's attention, interest, invitation, right? And throughout that, under those lenses, I wish I could give like a specific tactic, but there's so many platforms we're all on that's kind of what I have to rest the answer on by saying that's it. Attention, interest, and invitation. Increasing the daily lead flow is really just a function of those things, and just asking, how can I get more attention today? How can I get more attention? How can I get more attention? And just continually asking that question. You'll start to see really quick. I think the first way to do it is to see how everyone else has already survived and just do the same thing. It's a long answer. Is this okay?
Yeah. So there's a lot I want to throw in, and then I want to. So we've got some cool stuff to cover in the advanced session. Let me just quickly mention that. So in the advanced session, we're going to be talking about some of these tactics, and in particular, Steve and I are going to cover how to guide your evergreen funnel after you've launched it. And so this is going to get more into that nitty-gritty detail. But in some of the closing thoughts, and you've been so generous with your time, Thank you for sharing this, for preparing these slides. It's really been eye-opening. You know, one of the things that I think back to is something I heard from legendary copywriter John Carlton, and he was talking about how to come up with a really, one of the things he's really known for is coming up with headlines that just grab you, like, oh my God, like I have to read this. And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but basically you come up with the headline that is the magic potion or magic bullet, magic pill version that you cannot put out there because it'll get you in trouble. Like it stretches believability, but like if you at least give yourself the opportunity to say, okay, if the person could push a button, if the person could take a pill, if the person could just, you know, make this happen, what would be the instant magical solution? Like, let's get an idea on that. And then you walk it backwards to reality, you know, because he said a lot of people will start from, okay, we'll start from boring and try to inch their way towards the ideal headline. And you got to like leapfrog past what you're going to end up at, start at the ridiculous and back it off and walk it back. Yeah. And, you know, one of the other things, so in summarizing this for me, I think there's so many takeaways from this, but, you know, one of the things that I think is really a point to pay attention to is a difference between true leads with intention to buy versus opt-ins, because, you know, there's this law that I learned about recently called Goodhart's law. And as I understand it, it's like as soon as you make the metric, a certain metric, like the goal, the only thing that you want to improve, all of a sudden, because we will hack the system, but end up like screwing ourselves over. So for example, if you say, okay, opt-ins, I want to have as many opt-ins as possible. There's things that you can do that will get more opt-ins in, but actually they're not qualified. They're not actually interested in doing business with you, you know, but you improve the metric. So I think there's, you know, one of the important things to understand is that not all opt-ins are created equal, and you make the difference between like someone who's opting in for XYZ reason or incentive or freebie. And freebies aren't bad, but like if that's all they're interested in and they have no intention of moving forward, that's not truly a lead. Like a lead is someone who is kind of pre-sold and pre-framed and interested, and they're taking that next step forward, right?
Yeah. Like I told that guy, I'm a lead. I said, I know what you're doing. I'm a lead. Come back at my door. And just as a closing thought, if that's all right with that. So I've already brought it up, and I'm going to again, just because I'm sure we're all familiar with it. And there's no bashing on it at all. But like the network marketing space is really fascinating to me because it's such a good example of the principle I'm talking about. Once upon a time, there was no network marketing, right? And some company, which I can't remember who it was, I think it was Amway. Their sales guys one day were like, I love stories of rich dad marketers and how they got rich, like the old marketing stories, right? So obviously they're not dead, but once upon a time, Amway was like, we need more sales. And their sales guys were like, let's pitch our friends and family. And so they had a little party, did some three-way calls, and they literally sold, and that, lo and behold, network marketing was born. Next company comes along who has some kind of a product that they think could fit that kind of sales model. They're like, you know, let's go do that. And then everyone stamps it. Exact same stamp, rinse, repeat thing over and over and over again. And the marketplace stays a marketplace. And so how do I increase my daily lead flow? I have found that most marketers have never done the thing that their market continues to repeat that has kept that market alive. Markets don't stick around. They're not stagnant, but the markets that have survived, this is totally the opposite of what college told me. College told me to go make something completely new, something totally unique, something that no one's ever seen before. And that's true in marketing, but it's not true in the way you get your leads. Start by doing everything that everyone else is already doing. And if everyone else is doing 3 phone calls, you should start that way until you hit the same metrics that they do, and then venture out and start combining prolific with the mundane and making, you know, the cool ideas out there. How to increase the daily lead. It's a super long conversation. It's a 4-hour conversation for sure. But I think that's the best place to start. What am I market already doing? Start that with that as a metric.
Steve, this has been great. Do you, where can people go to learn more about you?
You know what? Actually, stevejlarsen.com is the best place. Okay. Stuff's shifting a lot. It's kind of my hub for where everything actually is up to date. So
Awesome. Awesome. Well,
yeah.
as I mentioned before, we've got an advanced session you're not going to want to miss out. So we do have deadline funnel on the page. We've got a button where you can upgrade. Make sure that you don't miss out. You've got a special deal in your hands right now. So don't let that procrastination take it away from you. Go ahead and click the button, and we'll see you over in the advanced session. See you there.